Now let's talk about the thing that people talk about when they've run out of things to talk about, the weather. But the weather that we're about to discuss is far from the boring cocktail party standard. As a matter of fact, you'll be surprised how interesting it can become, especially as you get closer to it in your Skyhawk. As you've seen in your flying so far, the weather can have a tremendous effect on how your airplane flies. Understanding what makes weather will make your flight safer and more fun. And don't worry, you won't need to become a meteorologist to be a pilot. But you will need to know more than night and morning low clouds, highs in the 70s on the coast, 80s inland. So first, let's talk about what makes the weather. Every physical process of weather is accompanied by or is the result of a heat exchange. Basically what happens is that the land and the water heat up at different rates. So when the land heats up, or the water, it creates air circulation and all kinds of weather changes. For example, if you've ever lived or vacationed near a large body of water, you've noticed that during the day, the air moves from the water to the land, what's called an onshore breeze. And that's because during the day, the land heats up much faster than the water does. As the relatively warmer air over the land rises, it draws the relatively cooler air from the body of water onshore and creates this onshore breeze. Then in the evening, when the land starts to cool down, the breeze shifts to an offshore breeze. And that's because at night, the land cools off faster than the water does, so the water remains warmer and pulls that air from the land out over the water. Now, another thing that happens when there's heating is that some of the water evaporates and rises with the heated air. And as the air cools, the water vapor condenses and can form clouds, fog, and rain. So the key to understanding what makes weather is to remember that the starting point is always a heat exchange. You can see this also in this diagram. Notice at the equator, where it's hotter, the air rises. And at the poles, where it's colder, the air is descending. Now, this is a very broad generalization of what actually goes on, but it does offer you a vivid image of why the air circulates. Now, the air circulation is broken up because of geography, topography, and a whole bunch of technical weather guy stuff. The result is really more like this. The purpose of all this circulating air talk is obvious. It is circulating air that creates wind. And we'll talk about the wind soon. So for now, just remember that weather happens because of the unequal heating of the Earth's surface. And by the time we're done, you'll not only be a whiz at weather, but you'll wow them at the cocktail parties as well.